We're truly playing the temple.
See, Nick, I told you somebody was gonna die.
Yeah.
I mean, we might. It's a bit brutal. So first of all, thank you all for deciding to play this game, and I've kind of told some of you this.
We're truly playing the temple.
That
See, Nick,
I kind of reached out to each of you. Well, actually, other than David, who I just kind of like happened to kind of just decide to check it. We were getting into this campaign together, and I was like, oh, I remember playing with David, and I should check in with him. So I sent him a message, and he was like, oh, I could play that. And I was like, well, shit, okay. But the rest of you all, I really, and I obviously I don't know you, Bud, but the rest of you all, I specifically, reached out to you because I thought you would be a great fit for kind of what I have in mind and for this game. So yeah, of course, we're gonna play through the module Temple of Elemental Evil, but we're doing with second edition characters. I'm getting a little bit of an echo from somebody out there.
from you, or yeah, well,
For me?
no, I don't think it's from you.
Is it for me?
Well, you were the one echoing.
Was I?
Mm-hmm.
No, I heard myself echoing. Well, because I was the one speaking. So we're not going to do like a full on session 0, but we're going to do some session 0 stuff, and then we'll get to playing a little bit today. Yeah, I think it's because I'm hearing somebody is playing through their computer speaker. So it's coming out of the speaker, and then it's going back into your speaker. I think it might be you, Pete.
Yep, probably me.
Do you have any headphones by any chance?
Hold on.
So we're not going to do a full-on session 0, but there are some things I just kind of wanted to go over just to set some expectations here. So I actually put in the Roll20, there is a PDF of the session 0 outline if anybody wants to follow along, but we'll just go through this really quickly, just to kind of put everything out there on the table, make sure everybody's cool with all this stuff before we get started. I'm going to kind of giving you most of the basics of it, but first of all, the campaign length. We're going to try to go through this module. So it's really kind of based on how long it takes you all to get through it. But I could see it taking 40 sessions. I don't think it'll take that long, but I could see that happening. Particularly if you meet many deaths along the way. So I just kind of want to throw that out there, that's the kind of commitment that we're really talking about here. And the sessions will probably be about 3 hours or so each time. I'm kind of leaving a little bit of flexibility to go past 10 p.m. Eastern time, past the 3 hours, if we're like in the middle of a battle or something. I'm not gonna, I won't cut us off or anything, but for the most part, I'm going to try to keep it to 3 hours. Particularly, David's literally starting the game at midnight, since he is in England. And then in terms of like attendance expectations, obviously there can be things that come up and maybe you can't make it. But my thinking is that if we have 3 players, we'll play. And there is an expectation that you will, at least if you're deciding to play, that you're going to be here for the vast majority of the sessions. So in terms of like the basic expectations, is that cool with everybody? Campaign length, session time, and sort of like what I'm thinking in terms of attendance, we'll play with 3 players?
Yeah, okay. Sounds good to me. I know that currently right now for my work situation, I have to be up at like 3:30 in the morning on Fridays. But that's actually changing in October. So I'll have a lot more flexibility on length of play after kind of like first week of October.
Okay, then we'll definitely gonna really try a hard 10 o'clock cutoff then.
Right, but if we have to, like, I can tough it out. That's fine. But if we're not in the middle of something like super crazy impressive, I might need to.
Yeah, for sure.
At 10, just until that changes. But that's gonna only be for like a week or so.
Now, Dom, let me ask you this. Like, let's say we're in the middle of like upkeeping kind of stuff. Like, let's say somebody needs to go to the armor and do some like armor stuff and a couple of players want to go. Are you okay with us continuing on with that and you popping off if you need to?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's not something that's like super crucial, and if something that would jump my character in, and you have the sheet and you want to do what he would do, I'm cool with that. I'm not that hardcore.
I'm going to tell you right now. So I'm never going to play anybody else's character, and I was kind of thinking, maybe we want to discuss this, that like we just kind of like, if you're not there playing the game, your character's just disappeared or like gone to the bathroom or something. Even if you're in the dungeon, because I don't really want anybody's character to die while they're not here.
Right.
And also, you know, I mean, I kind of feel like you don't get XP, you don't die, you don't get anything. It's just you're kind of like in a void world or something. I mean, we're all adults. Sometimes we're going to miss sessions. Let's just, I think that's the simplest solution to that. Is everybody cool with that?
Yeah.
Yep.
You just lost in Sigil for a bit.
Yeah. All right. So given all that, I kind of just in terms of like the game expectation, I want to mention, you know, we're running the Temple of Elemental Evil. So the expectation from me is that you guys are going to do the adventure. Now, I'm not trying to like railroad you or anything like that, but like, you know, don't fucking go off and like do some crazy shit. Like, we're doing the adventure, right? So like that's kind of an unspoken agreement. We are all here to play the Temple of Elemental Evil. So, you know, in general, we should be moving towards progressing along that adventure, rather than this being kind of like an open world sandbox kind of game. So just, you know, I assume everybody is okay with that. Nobody's like feeling like
no, absolutely, like no random trips to Waterdeep.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I want to mention this too because this is an old school adventure. And I will tell you, I do have a long-term sort of notion that if this is fun and we like it, then I would be willing, you know, to continue on, go through the T modules, then the Scourge of the Slave Lords, which is like the next part in this, and then GDQ, which is Against the Giants, Descent into the Depths, and Queen of the Demon Web Pits. And that's considered like the classic sort of super module. Like all of these things kind of are somewhat related. Within those modules, these are old school, right? So this is like a different aesthetic. And there are times where, you know, there's the buzzword now that gets thrown around a lot, player agency. And player agency, you know, like I'm sure most of you know that term, but if you don't, it's basically like the players always have control over their characters, and the DM doesn't just say, well, this happens to you. Well, in the old school adventure, sometimes they actually will say, like, capture the players. The players are captured.
Yep.
And like that's a part of the old school modules. And so I kind of want to throw that out there first. I mean, most of you are old school players and maybe you understand that, but it's a little bit different than what is sort of the modern day aesthetic in terms of like playing games is. I don't believe that this particular module actually has that really in it at any point, but assuming that I'm running the module as it's printed and I'm not just like out of the blue deciding to have like God scoop you up and F you over, are you all okay with me playing the module as written when there are circumstances where it takes player agency from you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Bud, David, Pete, what you guys think?
Yeah, it's fine. I was muted, sorry.
I think Bud's muted.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like
Unfortunately, my headset does not seem to have a microphone in it, or not one that works, so I'll have to mute myself when I'm not talking, but I'm cool with that.
You might be able to set mute to your spacebar. I think some people have done that, so it does it pretty well. All right, well, as long as you guys are okay with that, I'm going to try to avoid doing that hardly ever. And I don't really love that either. But it is part of the old modules, and I just kind of want to like throw that out there because it's a little bit of a different aesthetic. All right, so let's talk about tone a little bit here, because I kind of want you guys to tell me what you want in terms of the tone of the game. You know, I'm going to run the module exactly as it's written. We're gonna, you know, I'm not gonna make changes. You know, obviously your interactions with other things in the module they'll be intelligent, and they'll make changes and things like that are not anticipated in the module. So they will be like me as a DM kind of coming up with those things. But, you know, I'm not going to change stats. I'm not going to change the basics of the module at all. But within that, we have some wiggle room in terms of like how we want the game to feel in terms of playing. And like, you know, I think on one end of the spectrum is like beer and pretzels. So like we just all get together, we're just fucking around, just, you know, 6 guys getting together, just having fun. Like maybe we're kind of in and out of character often, you know, joking is kind of a part of it, you know, maybe met outside of character joking, inside of character, not too serious. Basically, we're getting together every 2 weeks just to like laugh, have a good time, play this game. Maybe it's a little bit of a meat grinder. And then on the other end of that spectrum is totally serious, where we come in here, once the game starts, we're hyper focused on the game, everybody's in character. When you're not in character, you're making it clear that you're speaking out of character. Very serious, straight up, you know, like it might be like when you're walking through the towns and everything like that, I'll really be into portraying like the grim and dark nature of everything that's going on, and it'll be really heavy. And those are kind of the two ends of the spectrum that we have in terms of that. So I kind of want to just have a little bit of a conversation with all of you on where we want to position ourselves within that scale in terms of like how we feel like we want the game to be. And I'll kind of start is that like, y'all, I have a 2-year-old. I get once every 2 weeks, one day off, one evening where my wife watches the kid and I can go and play some fucking D&D. I like being serious to a certain extent, but really I just want to have fun playing a game with y'all. And that means sometimes joking and laughing and like just not being quite as serious sometimes. That being said, I think, you know, I'm not going to like make a stupid joke like we're in the middle of a serious moment. So I think I'm kind of somewhere in the middle there, you know, based on kind of reading the room, where like there might be full sessions where we're just like dicking around and like just having fun and like, and you know, maybe we're even kind of joking around during a battle or during like a couple of rooms in the Temple of Elemental Evil or something like that. And then other ones where we're like really hyper focused and totally into character the whole time. And that's kind of where I'm at. But I really want this to be kind of a mutual agreement for everybody in terms of like how the game feels. So, you know, I kind of open it up to whatever you all are sort of thinking and feeling about the tone.
I think in character all the time would be very, very hard to do.
Exhausting.
Mm. I've always been pretty relaxed. It's just like having fun, enjoying what's going on, seeing where things go.
Well, I think really, I mean, I don't know if you guys, like, I know Rob, I've never met any of you guys really, you know, and like I definitely don't know you guys like personally. So I think it'd be really easy to kind of 50-50 it, to be honest. You know what I mean? Because we still have to go a couple sessions, feel each other out. Because, you know, we can't break into a bunch of humor if we don't even know what our humor is, right? Because everybody's going to be a little different. So, I mean, maybe like this is a question for like maybe after a session or two and see how we jive. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because we might fall, just naturally fall one way or the other. You know what I mean? Just it kind of depends on how we click.
It's a good point. Any thoughts, bud?
Well, since I'm actually just relearning everything, I'm just here to kick it. That's it. I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I get serious if the game plays serious, but yeah, I'm just here to kick it, have some fun, joke it if you want to. That's
well,
it.
This might be a good opportunity for us to throw something out there. There's a mechanism in role playing called Roses and Thorns, or another thing is Stars and Wishes. And essentially, it's like at the end of every session, you do a little check in, oh, these are the things that I really liked about the session, and these are the things that I'd like to see more of, or maybe, I didn't quite jive as much with. I'm fine with kind of an open policy in terms of like keeping the dialogue, like, dude, we're all here to have fun. So like, if there's something that you're not digging, like, please just like, let's just talk about it. Like, we're all adults. I don't want it to be like become something that makes the game not fun for somebody, because a lot of times it's really just like a tiny minor adjustment to the way that we play something. And there's 6 of us, so like we all have different feelings about like what we were going to enjoy. So I think what Dom is saying is a great idea. Let's just see how the tone kind of feels out over the first few sessions, and then if we're feeling like it's getting to be a little too serious and anybody's like, dude, this is just like too heavy, then we can tone it down a bit. Or if we're just thinking about, man, it's like it's like joke a minute here, and like we're not really making any progress with the story and all that, then maybe we kind of dial that back a little bit. So maybe I'll kind of bring this up in a couple of sessions, and if I forget, then just like remind me, and we can talk about that again. And I'll get some info on Startling Wishes or Roses and Thorns, and I'll kind of post those up in the Discord chat in between this session and next, and we can discuss if we want to do something like that. It's kind of I've never done it before, but I hear it's an effective tool for some folks. All right, so that kind of brings me to something, alcohol and or drug use during the game. And I mean by you guys, the players. This sounds a little funny, but I bring it up because some people like to drink a beer or even get like high before playing a game. And I sort of want to get a sense of like what people think. I don't drink or do any drugs. So like for me, like I'll be sober like every session, and I am the DM, so that's probably for the best. But I kind of want to like throw it out there. Like I don't really mind if someone like has a beer or two or a drink while you're playing the game, but I don't really want people showing up to the game like high and like or getting drunk and belligerent. I've seen that even with people I really like. I've seen that get out of hand before. I know, Nick, you had a bad experience in a game with a drunk or inebriated player kind of recently.
Yeah.
So I'll just throw that out there. Is everybody cool with that in terms of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think any of y'all are like.
No, I'm like a one glass person.
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
All right, so let's talk about player versus player and evil characters. All right, so
I feel very attacked right now.
So I put in the character creation guidelines so you can be an evil character. But the point being is like you can be evil, but don't be like the evil dick to your party character. You know what I mean? And so like I'm fine if your character is like a bastard, but like find a reason why you're not a bastard to all of your fellow players and player characters, and why you're not like, and why you're like loyal or why you help your teammates, I guess is what I'm saying. So that kind of brings me to player versus player. I'm not going to tolerate any player versus player that's because of something like that. Like if you're an evil character, like it's not okay that you like poison your fellow player character, or like while they're sleeping you slit their throat. Like that is off limits in this game. All right. Player versus player characters, though, I kind of want to have a discussion about that with you guys, because I think that at times there might be like I don't think it's, I know that there's kind of this like natural response where it's like that is definitely always bad, but I actually think that there are times when there is such an ideological difference happening that is an in-character, well-played circumstance where I'm not entirely opposed to there being that kind of conflict. But that being said, that's kind of my perspective, and I want to make sure everybody feels comfortable in terms of that. So like if you guys just want to say we will have no player versus player conflict, or here's another one I've heard, You can have player versus player conflict, but the person who is being attacked gets to decide the outcome. So, like, if one person attacks the other one, then they decide how it plays out. The person who's being attacked. I've heard that as a method before. In fact, that's how it's been in the game, and that happened in the AD&D game. That's how it was played out. But I mean, how do you guys feel about this?
Player versus player doesn't bother me at all. We can have it. We can't. It doesn't matter to me.
What I would say is, in general, it doesn't matter to me as long as it's in character and legitimate and people aren't getting really, kind of butthurt about it. But I will also say that if we're in general only going to be playing every other week for like 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, and this is already going to be a long campaign, spending whole sessions because my dwarf doesn't like your elf and we can't get along, that's not okay to the other 3 players plus DM sitting there going, okay, every other week, so 2 games we've been dealing with this and we haven't played really in a month. It's really not fair to everybody's time. You know what I mean? If we were playing every week and we were in person and doing 8-hour sessions and we want to fight it out, let's do it. I'm down, right? if it's legitimate, let's hammer it out, right? Because I love that whole alignment and the way that goes down. You wanted to play a necromancer and there's a paladin in the party. We know what's going to happen, right? You're going to push him over the butt while he's wearing plate mail because necromancers are better. But that's not the point. But I mean, that's my take on it. If we're going to do every other week for only 3 to 4 hours, I just think maybe it's kind of like a time respect issue. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I like that too. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. So we'll say, unless it's the absolute most extreme circumstances,
right?
That will let's just say we'll all try not to, but there can be a circumstance where we would think it would be fine. But yeah, I think that's a really good point, Dom, because I don't want to waste too much of everybody's time with that kind of stuff. Okay, let's talk about rules debates. There's a shitload of AD&D second edition rules, and there are interpretations. They're like legitimately fair interpretations that you read it and it's not clear. And one person feels it's this way, one person feels it's that way. That's totally fine. In the case of this game, though, I don't want to get bogged down in rules debates in the middle of a session. So let's keep it to, if there's a rule debate, I don't want to just say my rule, that's it. 2 to 3 minutes, make your case. I'll weigh it out. I'm going to make a decision right away to keep the game going. That being said, after the session, that's not going to be ironclad. We can talk about it, we can revisit it, and we can maybe come to some sort of real decision when we have more time to really think about it, pull out books, find all the nuances of like some sort of rule or something like that. But let's keep like rules debates to a real minimum, 2 to 3 minutes. Let's just kind of like debate it out, move on. So we don't get stuck, like Dom said, spending an hour of our 3-hour session in a rules debate. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Yep. So house rules. I had a list of all my house rules and I can't fucking find it for the life of me. This game's been around for what, like 30 plus years now, something like that. 35 years. The AD&D second edition's been around, so like everybody's like come up with we've all played this game, but like everybody's played it in different times with different people, and everybody had their own house rules. They may come up from time to time, and I'll try to be clear about that. But I'm going to try my hardest to really stick to what's in the books. I mean, and not really go too far out of character there. But that being said, I kind of like to open up the opportunity for people to do new and interesting things. I mean, like, just for an example, Pete was interested in playing a half drow, and like, okay, cool, let's do it. Let's figure it out. You know what I mean? And David wanted to be this, special particular race of elves that was in a dragon magazine. Like, like there's no harm in that. You know what I mean? I'm not like gonna be. It's not in the books that I said are allowed. But at the same time, like again, we're here to have fun. So, so sometimes like it might just be something like that where it's just like a little thing. But if I'm pissing you off about some sort of house rule judgment that I've made, please just let me know. Nothing is written in stone. Like this is our game all together. Even though I am God and I'm trying to kill you, I'm rooting for you as well. So please. This is the last thing I have on my list before I kind of just open up to anything else you guys had. But safety tools. So safety tools are a big part of like role-playing games these days. For better or worse, I guess you might say. I've played in lots of games with safety tools like maybe you're familiar with lines and veils or the X card. If you're not familiar with them, lines and veils, like lines are things like we will not cross this under any circumstances. This will not be a part of the game. And then veils are things that can be part of the game, but it's sort of like a fade to black kind of thing. It happens behind the curtain. You don't really see it on screen, but it's happening, but we don't like get into detail about it. And then the X card is something where you can just say, if there's a scene that's happening and there's something in it that you don't like, you can throw up the X card and we will immediately stop and move past it. The problem is with these kind of things is that this game, this module, which I want to run from the book, it's got a lot of dark themes. It has torture, it has slavery, it has racial inequality. It has all of these things that I think have become triggers for a lot of folks now. And so I don't really want to play with any safety tools, I guess is what I'm saying. I put it in the character creation thing, however, it's like, and I think this is kind of in the simplest terms is like, but don't be a dick about it. You know what I mean? So like that doesn't also means like, let's not spend a half an hour graphically describing the torturing of a prisoner.
Yeah.
I mean, like, come on, man. Like, let's fucking move on, right?
Yeah.
Like, like, we don't need that. Like, let's think about it. Is it adding to the game? Is it a component that is critical to understanding, like, of the game? So, like, if there's a character that's, and torture is happening, and they're, like, the villain, then it's, like, it's something that evokes the evil of the villain, and that's a part of it. But if it's just like wanton torture, then it's kind of like, all right, what the fuck are we doing here, So I think like that's kind of where I want to be with that, but I also want to throw it out there to you all to have a discussion about this. Like, what do you feel comfortable with in terms of safety tools or the lack thereof?
I mean, I don't need any, but
I don't
we
need
all
any.
saw Hostel. It wasn't very good.
Yeah. I don't need any. It's like pretty much impossible to offend me. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm offended by bad storytelling. That's it.
don't even
shit.
get you started.
That's a lot of pressure. How about you, Bud? How are you feel about this, Bud?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Well, I don't need your step-by-step whorehouse stories,
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Is like
come
I
on.
don't want to be like narrating somebody's like sexual fantasy.
There
like,
you go. I don't
and-
need that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
like that's
yeah,
what I
that-
mean. Like
That can be
Yeah.
a fade to black. Hey, you're going to do
There
it
you
with the
go.
barmaid. Okay, blah blah blah. That's
Fade to black.
That's fade to black. Yeah.
yeah. So like I do, but I do want to give an opportunity here right now. If there is anything here that like it's just untenable to you at any point, I think we need to be able to just say, you know what, this is too much for me, guys. Like, let's move on. Let's just like leave it open like that. Let's just have that open door policy in terms of some stuff, because like who knows, like maybe we've just had a bad day, or maybe something is just really getting to us. It's funny. I've been thinking about this a lot, though, is like, I like feeling uncomfortable when I'm playing role-playing games. And I feel like, sometimes like feeling that it makes the game more memorable and enhances it for me. But I can also understand, like, I don't want anybody to be having like some sort of like traumatic break in the middle of a game. So like, we'll just kind of have that open door policy. Like, if it's getting to you, please do not be afraid. And I think let's all collectively say we will pass no judgment upon that person, at least to their face.
Hey, one exception. If anybody rolls a bar and starts trying to seduce dragons, I will judge you harshly. I will judge you harshly.
All right. So anything else anybody wants to like discuss in terms of like session 0-y type things? Is there anything else like before we really get started in playing the game? Is there anything else anybody wanted to like, mention, note, whatever?
If you do notice me getting rulesy, it's because I've been a game master GM forever. So it's just a habit. Just say, shut up, Nick.
All right, I'll say shut up, Nick.
Yeah.
I've GM'd you lots of I
didn't know those rules.
Yeah, true enough. True enough. I don't actually mind a little bit of rules debate. Like a little bit of discussion, I think is okay. And there are so many rules that like, I feel like I know these. I consider myself I feel like I have system mastery over with AD&D second edition. And so like, I know these rules really, really well, but there are a lot of rules. So there are little things that like, I probably will screw up along the way. And I'm willing to admit that. So I might have some things wrong. And to be honest with you, like I said, there are interpretations that can happen with rules. And, I'm also open to the idea that maybe there's a better interpretation than what I have. So I'm not like totally opposed. Like, I just want to have fun, guys. Like, I don't really give a shit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I'm not, this isn't, I'm kind of joking. The DM is trying to kill you. I have that in my thing. But the reality is like, I just want us all to have fun. And like, I'm not out to get you. I just want to all have fun. So,
something went over your screen.
Isn't that weird? I see that too. Oh.
There you go. It's gone.
I kind of liked it. It was like very hazy. It's like
the first ghost. We've already encountered it.
I know. That was weird, right? That was really weird.
Yeah.
It's really humid here right now, so maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Ooh. It seems like it's kind of coming back. All right. Well then we can kind of get started here. Let me ask you all, if you wouldn't mind, to change your Zoom screen name to have your character's name in it as well.
I was trying to figure that out.
So what you do is you go on to the box that is you, click on the 3 dots, and go down to the bottom and say rename.
Aha!
I really am a big proponent of calling you by your character's name as we play the game. It's just kind of fun. All right, so I've got this enormous passage to read to you.
Mm-hmm.
My apologies, but it's part of the game. So, let us begin the Temple of Elemental Evil, this classic module. This module is a bitch to run, I'm going to tell you right now, but I'm really excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is player's background for you. The village of Hommlet, or merely Hommlet as it is commonly called, is situated in the central part of the Flanaess, that portion of western Auric continent which is known and civilized. The hamlet-sized village, local parlance having distinguished it with the greater term, is located some 30 leagues southeast of the town of Verbabank, and thereabouts on the fringe of the territory controlled by the noble Lord the Viscount of Verbabank. It is at a crossroads. To the north is the mighty Velverdiva River, along whose south bank runs the low road. Many days' travel to the east, on the shores of the lake of unknown depths near Dave, is the great walled city of divers. The village of Sobenwich lies about halfway along the route. Below that, to the southeast, and east are miles and miles of forest, the gnarly, beyond which is the wild coast, Woolly Bay, and the Sea of Girnat. The road south forks a league or so beyond the little community, one branch meandering off towards the wild coast, the other rolling towards the lower Cron Hills to the village of Ostverk, and then eventually turning southwards again into the elven kingdom of Selene. The western road leads into the very heart of the Gnomish Highlands, passing through Greenway Valley, about a day's travel distant, and going onwards to the Lort Mill Mountains far beyond. Hommlet grew from a farm or two, a rest house, and a smithy. The roads brought a sufficient number of travelers and merchant wagons to attract tradesmen and artisans to those passing through. The rest house became a thriving inn, and a wheel and wainwright settled in the thorp. More farmers and herdsmen followed, for grain was needed for the passing animals, and meat was in demand for the inn folk. Prosperity was great, for the lord of the district was mild and taxed but little. Trade was good, and the land was untroubled by war, outlaws, or ravaging beasts. The area was free, beautiful, and bountiful, too much so in the eyes of some. Whether the evil came west from divers, as was claimed by one faction, or crept up out of the forest lands bordering the wild coast, as others assert, come it did. At first, it was only a few thieves and an odd group of bandits molesting the merchant caravans. Then came small bands of humanoids, kobolds or goblins, raiding the flocks and herds. Local militia and foresters of the Waldgraf of Ostverk apparently checked but did not stop the spread of outlawry and evil. A collection of hovels and their slovenly inhabitants formed the nucleus for the troubles which were to increase. A wicked cleric established a small chapel at this point. The folk of Hommlet tended to ignore this place, nulled, even though it was but 30 miles distant. But its out-of-the-way position was ideal for the fell purposes planned for this settlement, as was its position on a small river flowing into the Velverdiva. The thickets and marshes around Null became the lair and hiding place for bandits, brigands, and all sorts of evil men and monsters alike. The chapel grew into a stone temple, and its faithful brought in their ill-gotten tithes. Good folk were robbed, pillaged, enslaved, and worse. In but 3 years, a grim and forbidding fortress surrounded the evil place, and swarms of creatures worshipped and worked their wickedness therein. The servants of the Temple of Elemental Evil made Hommlet and the lands for leagues around a mockery of freedom and beauty. Commerce ceased, crops withered, pestilence was abroad. But the leaders of this cancer were full of hubris, and in their inner overweening pride, sought to overthrow the good realms of the north, who were coming to the rescue of the land being crushed under the tyranny wrought by the evil temple. A great battle was fought. When the good people of Hommlet saw streams of ochre-robed men and humanoids fleeing south and west through their community, there was great rejoicing, for they knew that the murderous oppressors had been defeated and driven from the field in panic and rout. So great was their slaughter, so complete the victory of good, that the walled stronghold of the Temple of Elemental Evil fell within a fortnight, despite the aid of a terrible demon. The place was ruined and sealed against a further return of such abominations by powerful blessings and magic. Life in Hommlet quickly returned to a semblance of its former self, before the rise of the temple. For 5 years afterwards, the village and the surrounding countryside had become richer and more prosperous than ever before. A monstrous troll which plagued the place for a time was hunted down by a party of passing adventurers. Carrying the ashes and a goodly fortune as well, the adventurers returned to the village. Before going elsewhere to seek their fortunes, the adventurers also returned a portion of the villagers' losses. Other adventurers, knowing of the evil that had once resided in the area, came to seek out similar caches, and several did find remote lairs and wealth, just as some never returned at all. After a time, adventurers stopped coming to the area. It seemed that no monsters were left to slay, and no evil existed here to be stamped out. The villagers heaved a collective sigh, some pained at the loss of income, but others relieved by the return to the quiet, normal life, and Hommlet continued its quiet existence for 4 years more. But then, a year ago, the bandits began to ride the roads again. Not frequently, but to some effect. To the good folk of Hommlet, this seemed all too familiar. So they sent word to the Viscount that wicked forces might still lurk thereabouts. This information has been spread throughout the countryside, and the news has attracted outsiders to the village once again. Who and what these men are, no one can be quite sure. All claim to be bent on slaying monsters and bringing peace and security to Hommlet. But deeds speak more loudly than words, and lies cloak the true purposes of the malevolent. Got all that, guys? I hope you were taking notes. So, we shall begin with the 5 of you, or I should say the 4 of you. We'll leave Grey Ash aside for a moment. The 4 of you, JB, Brother Rygar, Tuctrin, and Ren, have been hearing about the rise in banditry and the potential for adventure and rewards in the area surrounding Hommlet, and had been considering making a journey as your fortunes have run low and you're looking for a way to perhaps further your own agendas, whatever they might be. And in conjunction with that, you were made aware of a merchant who was looking to hire out some men of capability to bring a shipment of goods to a wizard in Hommlet named Burn. It's mostly normal things, but things that are much more easily found in a big city than they are in a place like Hommlet. So beakers and flasks, laboratory equipment, things of that nature. And you're contracted by this merchant for 25 gold pieces for each of you to make this journey from Verbabank south down to Hommlet, and to make this delivery to Burn, which would be a good sort of starting amount for you to potentially get yourself established in Hommlet and see what other options there might be once you get there. I'll leave it up to you. I mean, the 4 of you have been traveling together now for a couple of days south towards Verbabank. You have a large cart pulled by, we'll say, a draft horse, a covered wagon filled with goods. And why don't we go ahead and describe your characters now? Nick, you're the only one who's not muted, so I'm going to start with you.
Okay. Brother Rygar is 22 years old. He's pretty fit. He looks to be about 200 pounds. He's 5'11", and you can see the muscle that he has. So he appears to be very strong. He has bright red hair, brown eyes, and you can see the wisdom in his eyes. Although he is very young, he looks to be very wise for his age. And he's wearing probably the brightest armor in the group. It's all sorts of reds, yellows, blues, and it's he carries most of the time his holy symbol around his neck. It's just a bright silver chain, and it's got, I guess it's made, whatever holy items are made out of, some kind of metal, but it's dyed yellow, looks like a sun. And he is a specialty priest of Nola, and he's generally chipper and always ready for anything, mostly. And he has a backpack. He has two large pouches that he that seems to be to jingling. He seems to have a little bit of coin, and he has a mace that's also got bright yellow. No, it's a morning star, and it's got bright studs all over it. And he's got a quarterstaff on his back, and he's carrying a healer's bag as well.
All right. How about you, Pete?
Probably be needing that healer's bag sooner than later. JB is wearing a hooded cloak. It's dirty, but it's not filthy. It looks almost intentional, like he's camouflaged it so he can hide. Longish white hair and very pale gray skin. He's thin. He's about 24. He keeps the hood up as often as possible, but you've noticed the slightly pointed ears. He doesn't talk much, doesn't laugh much, but he's got a decent sense of humor. He'll laugh when something's funny. He's always watching you. And he doesn't seem to have a whole lot of anything. A small backpack, 2 daggers strapped around his waist. Doesn't really say anything other than call me JB.
Okay. How about Tuctrin? Is that how he's pronounced? Tuctrin Boulderguard?
Yep. Okay. So Tuctrin is pretty much exactly what you would think of when you think of dwarf. Nothing, he's got kind of really dark red hair. He's about 4.5 foot tall, almost 4.5 foot tall. For a dwarf, he's not super old, but he's about 68 years old. He's very curious about things. And just from traveling with him, he's asked you, about your stories. He's asked Brother Rygar about, his deity. He wears a holy symbol, and his holy symbol is 2 crossed silver battle axes. And it's on a chain. It's on everything. He has 2 battle axes that he carries around. His weapons are obvious. They're not hidden. He's got battle axes, hand axes. He's got a length of chain with weights on the end of it. And abnormally, he doesn't hide it. And he has very nice armor, very nice clothes on, but he doesn't seem to have money. But everything he's wearing is very nice. But he's very curious, and it wouldn't be far-fetched to assume he's probably never been outside of Dwarven lands until recently. Given the way he's so curious, it wouldn't be hard to kind of surmise that. But overall, his demeanor is fairly friendly, but always looking around, always kind of not just curious, but skeptical. If there's a sound off in the distance, he's focusing on it. If there's something weird going on with a horse, he's trying to figure out if something spooked the horse. So he's very on his guard, but not to the point of being jumpy.
And how about Ren?
Oh, let's see here. What you see? He's not too tall. He's like a 5'6", probably 130. He's the youngest probably of the group with at 18. He's wearing pretty much brownish green leather armor. He always has a long sword in his hand and a hatchet. Well, maybe not always, but it's his kind of style. He has a bow strapped to his back, and he's your typical woods type person. He doesn't talk about it much, but you can tell that he does pray to the goddess of the forest. Probably not as much as others would. That's pretty much what he's more quiet than the rest of them. He's always kind of on his guard, but he's always looking around. He's more nimble than what he is strong, if that makes any sense.
Okay, so the and I'm going to get to you here in a second, Gray Ash, because you're we discussed a little bit of your how we're going to introduce you here in a minute. So, the sun shines brightly on a fine yet crisp autumn afternoon. The road is in poor shape, crisscrossed with deep wagon wheel ruts and occasional standing puddles of muddy water. To either side of the road is lush forest, complete with overgrown understory shrubs and bushes. The leaves are already beginning to turn yellow, oranges, and reds, and leaf litter covers the ground. The forest is alive with bird chatter and insect droning. Ahead, coming around the bend, a single form shambles along the road. The man is clearly wounded, as evidenced by a blood-soaked cloth bandage wrapped around his head. Another makeshift crimson-stained bandage is wrapped around his left thigh. He sees your group and attempts to hail you before collapsing from exhaustion. Everybody make a perception check for me.
So I know we have a perception stat, obviously, so it's just standard D20 roll?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, so for perception, any stat check, you just roll a D20 and you want to hit the number or lower.
That's good, because I thought I completely botched that.
Well, if it's supposed to be lower, I rolled a 20.
Ooh.
Oh, I rolled a 2. I thought I was screwed.
You see nothing.
Yeah.
I wrote a 5 out of 11.
All right,
in the middle.
so Gray Ash. You've been traveling through the forest here, the thick kind of forest, and do you speak Common?
I didn't know what the languages of the setting were, so I haven't filled it out. But I've got enough intelligence to get any languages, really.
Yeah, I'm giving everybody Common for free anyway, but I just wanted to know if you wanted to have Common or if you just want to speak like Broken Common or Elvish or something like that. So you've been, traveling south for some time because, sort of leaving the cold north, and I don't want to speak for your character, but let's say maybe the big cities were a bit intimidating for you. But you've kind of stopped maybe here at some roadside places here and there, and you've heard that there were some opportunities for those with particular skill sets that might include yours. A place maybe where people would less shun you and more appreciate the magic that you bring to bear. And so you've been sort of traveling to the south, mostly sticking to like game trails and things like that. And last night you came upon as you started your day traveling, you came upon a campsite, basically. It was abandoned, but it was obviously recent campsite, very recently used. And carefully you sort of followed the obvious pathways that led away from this campsite, sort of tracking it, you might say. I wouldn't even call it tracking because it's like so I would say it's so obvious, like they're not even. And eventually you started to hear started hearing some sounds from these people speaking, and you noticed like they were just speaking openly about talking about plans for setting an ambush on the road and waylaying passerbys. these. You couldn't quite get a full exact accounting of them, but at least three or four rough and tumble characters.
Yeah.
And so you kind of eventually you could see sort of the road up ahead, and like you just were kind of like watching them setting up. You sort of back a bit of distance that you're kind of not viewing them, but sort of just like, oh God, what are these guys doing? For those of you who made a perception check, you see a figure in the woods, kind of looking, kind of peering around a tree. Why don't you go ahead and describe Grey Ash?
Grey Ash there's a half elf, but mostly he's just wearing dirty, like linen robes that not really resemble linen anymore, after being worn without just river washing them, basically. He's looks kind of weird. Like his skin isn't like, it doesn't look normal. It like looks dried, like a puddle, like a muddy puddle that's dried out and cracked. Doesn't have much. He's got a backpack, like a tent and everything. He's clearly dressed to travel and to survive in the wilderness, as I assume peering around this tree, looking, I assume not in the direction of the man on the ground. If I'm seeing a group of people, I'm looking slightly further down the road or somewhere else.
Well, so yeah, you see so the man has like been stumbling down. I mean, you can see him, but you also know that the around the road, kind of near this man, are there are essentially like bandits hidden in the trees. So anyway, the four of you see this bedraggled half elf, kind of crouching and hidden. And then of course you also see this man has stumbled and fallen bloody in the road up ahead. What'd you like to do?
I am going to pull out an axe and tap the side of the carriage. And everyone, pay attention. We're being watched from the wood line. Perhaps that is the one that attacked this one. And I kind of motion with my axe towards the bloody figure on the ground.
You're not being quiet about that, right?
Not at all.
All right, so yeah, Grey Ash, go ahead and make a perception check, and I'll give you, a +4 bonus essentially to that perception check.
9/16.
Okay, so yeah, you hear that basically, this like dwarven bellowing voice.
Who's driving? Who's driving?
I will.
The horse.
Listen.
I guess you could have a driver. We could say that you have a driver. Maybe there's a driver that was assigned with you. We'll call him Jack. He's a simple man. He says, "Whoa! Be wary," he says. And he's patting the horse.
I would.
Easy, Willoughby, easy.
I would slink back into the woods and try and move further down the road to go around behind where I know the other people are setting up. If possible. I'll try to make my way that way.
Okay.
I'm going to start heading towards the injured man.
All right, so you all see the half-elf slink off into the forest, I mean, it's a pretty thick forest, so like, I'm going to say you lose him pretty quickly, unless you're going to follow him, just because he just moves into the forest, and it's just like hard to see people like in the forest. Actually, you know what, Ren? Let me give you another perception check now that he's been shown out to you, because you have a lot of good forestry.
11.
Okay, does that succeed? Which I don't know what your perception is off.
12. So,
Okay.
Yeah, 61.
Yeah, so you kind of have a sense of where the half elf probably is, just because you're so attuned to the forest as a ranger that you don't know, you can't see him, but like you're noticing, oh, that branch is bending slightly, or oh, that bird just flew up. So you're kind of like, you kind of have a pretty good idea of where the elf is, and it looks like he's kind of maneuvering around. And Gray Ash, I mean, the as you're maneuvering around these bandits, they don't seem to notice you. Like they seem really intent on the on the man, on the road.
I will ready my sling basically to prepare to ambush the ambush.
All right, Ren, did you want to do anything now that you kind of have a sense of what's happening there?
Well, the one that I was trailing into the woods, I'd probably have my bow arrowed in towards the area. If I don't see him, at least it's pointed that way.
Okay,
That's
sounds good.
it. I probably moved to the back of the cart just to keep a little bit of cover plus.
Sounds good. Yeah. Okay. So Tuctrin, you're moving up towards the fallen man,
Yes.
and you're on foot, right? Everybody's on foot.
Yeah, I'm on foot.
Okay. Anybody else going up with Tuctrin?
I'll take out my healer's bags. This man may need assistance, and I'll start going up towards the wounded fella.
It could be a trap, so I'll come with you and I'll guard the rear.
Okay. Okay, so the three of you, Tuctrin and sort of Brother Rygar, sort of side by side, and JB, you're kind of like sneaking behind. You move down the trail and down the road, and you see the man, and he kind of let's see here. You get close to him, and you can see, he's got this bandage, and he's got this bandage around his head, and it's going around his leg. Rygar, Tuctrin, either one of you have healing proficiency.
Yes, I do.
Make a healing proficiency check.
See if I can go to zero.
I'm not that kind of priest.
No, I know. People need healing after meeting you.
I hope so.
Wisdom. Yeah, I've got it. I got it with a 9.
Okay. So, all at once, a bunch of stuff happens. First of all, Rygar, you notice that his wounds that's fake. Like, as soon as you get close enough, like, you can see it's fake, and you see, like, as you're approaching, that he's fallen down, but he's fallen in such a way, he's like in position in such a way as to be able to spring right up. And you see, like, a dagger is drawn, so you're not going to be surprised. Tuctrin, I'm going to say, yeah, Tuctrin, JB, go ahead and roll surprise.
Okay.
Which is a D10, and it is modified for your dexterity. A 1, 2, or 3 on the D10 means you're surprised.
A D10. I rolled a 1.
Oh, so you are surprised. Good start.
I know, right?
You said it was dark?
No, it's bright day. Daylight. Yep. Fine, crisp autumn afternoon. Sun shining.
So what's going on? Is it?
I'm going to tell you in a second. I'm just waiting
Oh.
for everybody to roll their surprises. JB, are you surprised? What'd you roll? You're muted.
Sorry, I rolled a 4. Wasn't sure if I was.
Okay,
muted.
you are not surprised. All right, so you see the man spring up really quickly. And Brother Rygar, you are not surprised. Tuktrin, you are. JB, you are not surprised either. Greyash, you're not surprised. Ren, you are not surprised. Either of you. You're kind of paying attention closely. You don't even have to roll surprise. But you see, Greyash, you see all at once, the man reaches and moves to bring his blade up. And Greyash, you can see a couple of the bandits fire arrows. You can see like they're hidden in the forest. They're firing arrows, and some arrows actually come from the south side of the road as well. You're in the northern end of the road. So let's all go ahead and roll initiative, except for Tuktrin.
I was too busy. I was too busy watching the woods where the elf went.
So initiative is calculated as follows: you roll a d10, you add your weapon speed to it, and then you subtract your weapon or spell casting speed if you're doing a spell. You add that to it, and then you subtract your dexterity bonus, which is reaction bonus.
Oh my god.
Say that again.
14?
You roll a d10, you take that number, you add your weapon speed to it, and then you subtract your reaction adjustment bonus from that number. It's going to be a little confusing because the reaction adjustment bonus is listed as a plus number,
Mm-hmm.
and you're subtracting it from your initiative. So if you're using a short bow or a long bow, Ren.
Longbow.
So I believe that's a 7
Mm-hmm.
speed factor. So D10 plus 7, and then I think you have you have an 18 dexterity, right?
Yes.
So and then you're be minus 2. So it's D10 plus 7 minus 2, so essentially plus 5.
Okay, 13.
Okay. All right.
That was
so,
something I had questions on. I could not find weapon speed when I was building. So what is the weapon?
what's your weapon?
Regular little daggers.
Weapon speed on a dagger is 3. I believe I'm taking off
Dagger
the
is 2, I think.
2? Okay.
Yeah, 2.
2. But you can't go below 1. But
Okay,
your dex
so-
is also 18, I believe, as well, right?
All right, so I rolled this. Yeah. So I rolled a 6. That was plus 2 for the daggers. That's going to be 8, and then minus 2. You said.
Yeah, but you can't have a lower speed than a 1 on your weapon. So like you can't go to 0. You know what I
Okay.
mean on your weapons? Because it subtracts from your weapon speed, not from your overall speed. So you have a 7 essentially.
Okay.
You're essentially whenever you're using your dagger, you're just gonna be plus 1. So you're 7. I heard a 14 out there from Greyash.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get a 14 with a sling?
I rolled an 8.
It's plus 6 for a sling?
Yeah.
Sling should be faster. You get 2 shots though, right?
Do I? Maybe.
Right. And I'm sorry, what did Ren have, bud?
He had a 13.
13. And what about Brother Rygar?
16 with a morning star.
Okay. All right, so the man in front of you who's oh god, that's not a good start for him. He will go on an 11. All right, so JB, you see the man reach up and pull out his blade and then and go to stab. He's going you actually don't. Well, actually, okay, so he looks like he's going after Brother Rygar, who's approaching him. Looks like he's going to try to stab Brother Rygar. You see this happening, and then you kind of like hear all of a sudden like bowstrings drawn and like fluttering and trees moving in the wind, and you kind of look and you can see that these bandits have come out of the, come out from around the trees, and there's 2 to the north of the road, 2 to the south of the road, and then there's this man who's kind of standing up. What would you like to do?
Yell out, duck.
Duck?
Yell duck to my people, and then I'm going to attack the guy trying to stab Brother Rygar.
All right. He's wearing leather armor. Yeah, that's right. Dwarves don't need a duck. You're muted there, bud. Not bud. I mean, buddy. My buddy, Pete.
By the end of the session, I'll get used to this hold the space bar. Anyways, we are off to a good start. I rolled a 20.
If you have the headphones on, you probably don't need to mute anymore.
True.
Rolled a 20. You rolled a nat 20?
That's a second 20 already.
Hey, man, nice. Okay, so that's going to be a critical hit. So you do double damage.
Of course, it's a dagger, so it's a D4 for damage.
D4, so double damage, yep. That's okay.
3, so that's a 6.
All right. Would you like to describe your kill?
Nice. All right. I see his arm going forward with, I assume it's some sort of a dagger or knife or short sword. I grab him by the bicep to go over him and get him right in the neck. And he is bleeding out all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, he falls to the ground dead. By the way, everybody, we are playing the -10 rules in terms of for player characters can go to -10 before they die. Bad guys die at 0. All right, so yes, he falls dead, and your blade is bloody. Let's see here. They are using short bows, and so that is, I gotta roll for the archer and the others. Okay. Well, Ren, you're up next. You've been tracking this half elf, but you can see now, as all of this action begins, that the half elf that's been moving through the forest that you were sort of tracking with your bow is now swinging a sling, getting ready to sling a stone or bullet of some sort at one of the ambushers. Like he seems to be attacking your enemy.
Well, seeing that, I guess I would just swing around in the next closest target. I'd probably shoot.
Okay. Yeah, you see one of the bandits, somewhat camouflaged, ruddy-looking man, rough-looking man, probably been living out in the forest for quite some time. And go ahead and roll to hit. And you get to use your attack bonus for using, you're always welcome to tell me to shut up when I'm going over these rules, but I know them so well. I know a lot of you are kind of just getting back into the game. You get a +2 from your dexterity when using a bow because of your high dexterity.
Right. Overall, I got a +3 so 16.
That is going to be well enough. He has AC 8, and a 16 will hit AC 4. So go ahead and roll damage.
And that'd be a 10.
10 damage. Holy shit. That might not be possible for you to do 10 damage. The plus for your dexterity does not get added into damage, only to the 2 hit rolls.
Are we not using proficiency for weapons?
Oh, are you specialized in
In bow, yeah.
Rangers actually can't specialize.
Alrighty, then I guess that is 6.
That is still enough to kill it. So would you like to describe your kill?
Probably just a standard kill, whip around, shoot it straight in the chest.
All right.
Probably
You
went
pin
for
him.
the
Yeah, he is thoroughly pinned to the tree now with your arrow. Next up is Greyash. You see one of the bandits that was near you is now pinned to the tree dead, but there is one that's still living.
Mm-hmm. I will try and sling a stone into the back of his head. Yeah. I rolled a 13. I don't think I have
That'll
any
do it.
modifiers.
That's enough, though. AC 8.
Okay.
Come on, you can do it. This is the weakest one.
I just did 2 damage, I believe.
Is it 1 to 3? Is that what it is?
It's a 1d6 plus 1.
And you did 2 damage, huh? He survives.
Just get clocked in the back of the head by a little sling bullet.
What was that? 14. All right, so at 15, it's their turn. And they go running. The two to the south of the road, who you've not engaged with at all, just hightail it into the thick forest and are quickly disappearing. The one to the north, however, is also kind of disappearing to those who are in the on the road. But Ren and Greyash, the two of you, still have a view of him, even as he moves into the forest. Because Ren, you were kind of tracking all of that, and Greyash, you just attacked him. And I believe each of you have 2 attacks, right? Sling and longbow are 2 attacks around, right? Or
Sling
just
is
short bow?
1.
Is short bow
Sling is
2
one
and
attack.
short bow.
it's the short bow?
Yeah, I think it's like 2 and then 1 and 2 and then 1 or something.
Okay. Yeah, so he goes sprinting off into the forest as well, like like holding the back of his head from this like knot, and is quickly off into the forest. Do you care to pursue them, or are you going to let your victory stand? I ask all of you, actually.
I have no say in this because I'm still surprised. Like it's not to me yet.
Yeah.
Because the one that I was like attacking, because I was like behind him. As he like ran like kind of adjacent to me, past me, like would I be able to catch him in a round?
Let me roll on the scattergram. See which way he runs. So I'll put you at the position 1 for him in terms of the scatter. Are you running the exact opposite direction of you?
Okay.
Yeah, so he runs like basically into the other area of the forest.
I'll just head along the tree line towards the party.
All
as
right.
all this resolves.
I see
And then
no need in wasting life. I'm not going to chase after.
I'm not. I don't look like I'm being like surreptitious about this. I'm just like the ambush has ended, and I'm just like moving in your direction normally.
All right, so Tucktrin, you're finally. I want to give you an opportunity to see if you want to do anything. Tucktrin, you're like everything happens like in the blink of an eye, and you're kind of just like frozen in place. And then like there's a body at your feet. People are running off, and it's kind of all chaos. And then, what would you? Is there anything you'd like to do?
I'm scanning for this crazy looking half elf or elf. I'm sorry. This dark, weird skinned elf that I saw initially. because I didn't see him attack the other people.
Right.
Because
Oh,
I was
you just-
surprised. I totally oblivious. Like I was like looking at my reflection of my axe, going, "Man, my beard looks good today." And then people are dead. I'm like, all right. So I don't know that he's on our side. So I'm just looking around and being hyper vigilant, looking for him. Is
It
what I'm
should
doing.
be hard to spot me. I'm casually walking towards like the group.
So I basically I have one axe out, and I'm going to pull a second battle axe out, and I'm going to hold a full size battle axe in both hands, and I'm just going to kind of look at him and go, "All right, guys, is he a friend of yours?" And just kind of looking around at JB and Ren and Brother Ryger, and
I've never met him.
I don't trust him.
I look at Ren, because Ren, you're a half elf, correct?
No, human.
Human. Who's a half elf?
Hmm.
JB's a half elf. Is he one of your clan?
I don't have a clan. I don't trust him.
No clans, right?
Maybe you should trust him. You see a guy beat up, but he's all bandaged up. Who bandaged him?
That's a good
Right.
question. Maybe we should ask him.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna
Sorry,
start
we
walking.
can't. He's dead.
I'll just start walking towards the this elf.
Hmm. I'll call out to the group at large. It's like, these roads aren't safe. Not anymore.
And why
We're
exactly
unsafe.
is that? You obviously have some knowledge that we're lacking in this situation. Perhaps you'd like to share it with us.
Hmm. These lands, they become they turning they words peace is peacefulness. See for yourselves. years ago, merchants traveled these roads easy. Now, peril.
So do you hunt bandits? Is that what you do?
I hunt to live. The bandits, they just get in the way.
I'm gonna start
Inter-
pulling the dead off the road.
But interesting enough. Are you interested in a fire?
Fire's always good. Like what time is it? It's like midday?
It's like middle of the afternoon.
Mid-afternoon. It's a bit early to be breaking camp.
Depends on what kind of hurry we're in.
The sooner we get there, the sooner we get paid.
Oh, I'm confused. If what you said, fire?
It's a figure
You
of
look-
speech. Means come talk to the group. I keep forgetting
Oh,
elves and humans don't. Dwarves
said-
like communing around the fire
Mhm.
to speak with each other, even if there is no fire there.
yes. Understand.
But there's no fire, but there's always time for brew.
Hmm.
So I just pull out my flag and start drinking and walk back to the caravan.
How many dead are out there?
There are one, the guy on the road, and then two other. No, wait.
I think
The guy
there's just two
on the road
dead, right?
and one of the bowmen is dead.
I'll just pull them close together and say a prayer over them. May the light of Nola shine upon you as you journey to your next destination. May it not be dark.
Anybody have the skill appraising?
I do.
Actually, might. I do not.
All right, Brother Ryger, make a appraising check.
I got it with a 5.
You can tell that the dagger that the man attempted to take to you is a particularly high quality and good make. It's got kind of like, it's a bit camouflaged, you might say, but it's a nice quality dagger.
Does someone need a dagger? I'm not used to looting the dead, but it's
I'll
there
take it.
if you-
No problem. Actually, that sort of leads into what I was going to do. I was going to very patiently wait for Brother Rygar to finish his prayer, and then I was going to
loot the bodies.
just take a look through the pockets and see what we got.
Okay, so first and foremost, you do find some coinage. Mostly, it's on the man who attacked you from the road. But in total, you find 28 copper pieces, 30 silver pieces, and 2 platinum pieces.
Wow.
These guys holding.
And
Business has been good.
yeah, you find there's a dozen arrows, the short bow, and let's see here, 2 sets of leather armor. I mean, if you care for that. But also, how thorough are you being with the looting?
At this point, we have nothing.
Roll
but
for
time.
cavity check.
Yeah, I mean, like,
All right, you're dead, but still, turn your head and cough.
okay, I'll say that you're being thorough then. And so JB, you're like, I don't know how the rest of you feel about JB's thoroughness, but like, he's like pulling off the clothes and things, and he pulls off one of the boots, and as he pulls off the man's boot, a stone falls out of his boot, drops to the ground, and you can find that in handout A on Roll20. What it looks like. It is a sort of a round, smooth stone upon which is painted an eye that has a tear, painted like in a brown. It's not unlike, like it's not painterly, just kind of an ink, whatever, a sepia kind of brownish ink. And you end up finding such stone in the other man's boot as well.
So would they have been walking on these? Like, uncomfortably?
It's in the module. I don't know. I also like was thinking, wow, that would be super uncomfortable to keep these stones in the boot. But hey,
maybe they like maybe it keeps them awake at night. I don't know.
It was perfectly placed to offer an insole massage as they walked.
This bandit has unusually high arches.
Yeah, exactly. Active arch support.
Even more so. Would any of us recognize this symbol? It's like, well, I guess do any of you recognize this?
Can I make a religion check?
I can do a religion check as well.
I'll just say that the both of you, yeah, go ahead, make a religion check, both of you. Anybody that has religion, you can make a religion check. If you have local history, you can also do one.
I rolled another 2.
Okay.
I made it by
Okay.
2.
You've never seen anything like this in your religious texts. Anybody have local history?
So I have a specific version of it, so it probably doesn't apply. It's called local dwarven history, but it doesn't mean it's just history of dwarves. It's the local history as the dwarves know it. Like, so if the local history is like humans like just founded the town, dwarves might say they found the town because they stole it from a weak clan of dwarves and we hate them. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the dwarven take on whatever the local history is. But I don't know if that would apply because I'm not technically like local because we're traveling. So if it doesn't apply, it's totally cool.
I'm just trying to think if this would like. I'm just trying to find a like in any way that this group would have interacted with the dwarves at all that it would make any sense. And this is so microcosmic. I just don't even think
Yeah, probably not.
it would relate.
No one has any idea.
Yeah.
Mm.
But you do have 2 of these stones now.
Well, perhaps somebody in Hommlet will know what these are.
Possibly.
Perhaps it's a family symbol of some type. I know that you don't have clans, but I'm sure you have families. It's standards.
You know, we'll get our shipment in, and then you can check them out. You can keep them. You can sell them. You can do whatever you want with them.
Jack says, "Yeah, should I bed down Willoughby? Are we going on, or should I get him ready, detach him from the cart for the night?"
How much
Something
further
there.
before Hommlet?
We'll say half a day's travel, so you probably won't make it there today. You'll make it there tomorrow. I mean, you make it there. Yeah, you won't make it there till tomorrow.
Where's the sun in the sky?
Mid-afternoon, so
Okay.
mid-afternoon sun. Yeah, Ren, you probably guess, being a woodsman, that you have 2 to 3 more hours that you could probably travel safely on the roads, with the wagon.
Could I make a check with astrology and weather sense to know whether or not it'd be safe to travel, like whether or not it'd be good to travel at night if it's like clear skies, full moon, or if we're gonna get hacked?
That's interesting. Yeah, sure. You have astrology?
Astrology and weather sense, yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
astrology, though, is like reading the
Yeah.
signs and symbols of like the omens of the stars and like.
Yeah, but I'd know like the phase of the moon, but anyone would know that, but I'd probably pay more attention to it to know off the top of my
Astronomy,
head.
maybe.
Yeah, astronomy, I would say, would be like a North Star kind of like navigational kind of thing.
I figured a dude who worships the sun knows what time it is.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not. I mean, in normal times, the road is not dangerous to travel on. But I mean, it is like the road is rutted, and it's not like there's like lanterns lighting your way. So it's probably most dangerous for the horse. Really, it's not like for you guys would be probably fine, but like just thinking about it, like, Jack would be guiding the horse through a rutted road, and you could sprain an ankle or damage the horse. So that probably wouldn't be great
Listen.
considering you have a wagon.
My take on this one is that we just got into a brawl. Some guy got away. If we keep on going till dark, we're going to be tired. When he shows back up with his big brother, we're going to probably have another fight. I say we stop now and be ready for it. If this stuff gets broken, we don't get paid.
I will try spellcraft on that rock just for shits and giggles.
Okay.
I did not make that.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a magical sigil that you're aware of. All right. So you're gonna kind of maybe move I don't know where, but generally you find an area that's close by that's good for camping.
Yeah.
He can
Okay.
set everything up. And I'll take this moment here. We're about halfway through our session time. Does anybody need to take a break?
I do.
Okay, why don't we take a 5-minute break and for bathroom break, and we'll be right back. All right, we'll be 5-minute break.
Yeah.
I'm here.
I am here as well.
What?
Everyone's back. Before we get started again, I'm going to briefly explain individual experience points and how we're going to do that. Because it's going to be generally your responsibility to sort of keep track of your own individual experience, and I'll give you group experience at the end of each session.
Okay.
I love the old AD&D second edition books that I have because they kind of smell like an attic or a basement. Because they were probably like in an attic or a basement for like 20 years. What's that?
It's a cover from my player's handbook because it's so fucked up. I mean, my
So-
book is fucked up.
This is not my original DMG, but this is my original player's handbook, and it's
Yeah.
actually in remarkably good condition,
Not
all
bad.
things considered. I mean, the spine is kind of jacked up a little bit, but I mean, I don't know, it's not that bad.
My Dungeon Master's Guide's in the bathroom. That's where I do my reading.
Let's see here. So, well, Dom's. I'm gonna wait for Dom on here, but we're gonna talk about experience here, really briefly before we continue on, just so I can kind of give everybody a little bit of an idea about that. Yeah, it's funny because I have like a lot of RPG stuff. I mean, you know, from D&D to zines to newer games. I've been playing some Pathfinder for a couple years now, actually. Pete and Dom know Amanda has been running a Pathfinder game for a couple years. I've been playing in that. But I have all these books, and I tell you what, the only ones that never get shifted out of the RPG bookshelf and go up into the attic are the second edition books. I have my Cthulhu book down there right now. I have a bunch of like, you know, random stuff too in there, but I always have like Player's Handbook, DMG, Monster Manual, Tome of Magic, Forgotten Realms Adventures, because I love the gem section in the back of that book for individualized gems because they have like, it's just very cool. And then a bunch of other random little stuff, but
A little more chocolatey and less sweet.
hey, you got to share with the class, bud. I mean, not Bud, but God, I say Bud. I call people Bud, and your actual name is Bud. So, like,
I can turn.
I'm offended.
Shannon's been making cookies, so I'm enjoying cookies.
how you doing, Shannon? Long time no see.
Hold on.
Still
Say
no
it again.
see. I said, hey, how you doing, Shannon? Long time no see.
Hi.
What's up? All right, so I just briefly want to go over individual XP because I do not want to track it. I'm going to let you track it, and I'm going to trust that you're doing it right. So individual XP in general, you're going to get experience points from like killing monsters, some role-playing experience, and then and maybe if you do something really big, I'll give you like just a kind of a bonus XP thing. And then you're going to get individual experience. And so each character class, for those who aren't familiar, I'm just going to go over this as though none of you know what this is. Each character class has their own individual experience class awards that relate specifically to what that character class is good at. So warrior classes get experience based on creatures defeated and how much hit dice is defeated. Priests get experience for using their granted powers and casting spells from their god, and then also making magic items whenever that comes up. Wizards also get XP for casting spells, researching spells, which is like learning new spells, making potions, and making other magic items. And then finally, rogues get XP for using their special abilities, things like pickpockets, hiding in shadows. For gold pieces, value of treasure obtained, and bards get XP for some hit dice as well. So, like I said, I don't want to track this. And I am going to be very free with this. So, like, as long as you are not, like, if you're a priest, as long as you're not like outright like defying your god, then I'm just going to assume every spell you're casting is going to count for that XP. Okay. If when there's hit dice, you're going to get the whole hit dice for the battle, whatever it was, for every class that gets it. So, for example, the brigands you just defeated, there were a total of 5 hit dice. So all the warriors are getting 5 hit dice worth of XP. If you're a rogue, I'm not going to give you like a climb walls every 10 feet and you're going to get it for that. But for the most part, like, even if you do some sneaky stuff and you're in the shadows, even if it doesn't result in like getting a backstab or something, I'm going to give you that XP. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be really free in terms of that. So knowing that, you need to keep track of it yourself. I do not want to keep track of your individual XP. So, depending on what you are, what your class is, keep track of your spells cast, your treasure obtained, your special abilities used, and the hit dice. And what I'm going to do is at the end of every battle, I'll tell you what the hit dice were for those who need hit dice, so you can keep track of that. So that last battle was 5 hit dice. Now you get 10 XP per hit dice times your level. So at level 1, you're getting 10 XP per hit dice. At level 2, you're getting 20 XP per hit dice. At level 3, you're getting 30 XP per hit dice. So just keep that in mind. So all the warriors just got 50 XP per hit dice. All right. So you don't have to calculate it now, but just kind of keep a running tally and I'll let you know. In terms of treasure obtained, as soon as the divvying up happens and you're safe, the treasure obtained XP comes into play. So you're not going to get XP for the golden chalice that you have in your hand while you're still fighting the demigorgon. All right. Like, you got to kill the thing and like get out of the lair, and then you get the XP for it. And you're not going to get the XP if you've found a chest full of 5,000 gold pieces, but you haven't divvied it up yet. It's only when when you finally get it that treasure comes into play. And when it comes and let's say you get enough XP to get to a level, I'm not a big fan of training, the mechanic of training, because I think it derails games. I just think, I got to find 3 weeks to train or whatever. Like, I just think it's just not fun. So like, I'm not going to do it. Not fun. But like,
The training happens in the off week.
yeah, and the training is just happening, like, you're training as you're going. Like, you're practicing. You're like, it's assumed that you're trying to learn new skills. Like, when you have off time, like when you're walking, like at night, you're like, doing new prayers or fiddling with your spell book or whatever it might be.
So
Practicing with your bow.
the hit dice XP only goes to the fighter.
Fighters, rangers, and paladins.
So we don't get any XP for the hit dice of the creature for killing the monster.
No, you'll get XP for the monster. You'll get monster XP. The hit dice we're only talking about individual XP.
Okay.
Monster XP you'll all
Yes.
get, and it's a sum total that is divided by the group. And I'll give you that as well. That I'm going to typically give to you at the end as like one lump sum, just because it's easier. But I mean, I can give it to you as we go. Like, for example, those those brigands, they were not worth a lot. They were worth 15 XP each. Oh, and I should mention here too, again, I'm being liberal with the XP. You only killed 2, but you defeated 5. You're getting XP for all 5. They are defeated. They ran away. You won. Now, you won't get it for them again if they come back and you have to fight them again. You know, like let's say they join up with some other brigands and you have to fight them again. You're not going to get them. You won't get the XP again. But you defeated them. I mean, your sheer destruction of the leader and like one of the guys like in the first round was enough to chase them off. You're getting XP for all 5. They were only worth 15 each. That's 75 XP. And that actually is divided by all 5 of you. So it's really not a lot of XP. It's like 15 XP each.
I mean, it sounds to me like for the guy I killed, he was worth 28 copper, 30 silver, 2 platinum, a nice dagger, a dozen arrows, and a short bow. Y'all can take that with a
Yeah. So, and that's also true too. Is like when you're talking about like objects, like you can get money, you can get XP for that, but you have to sell those objects. You know what I mean? You have to like if you have gems and jewelry, okay, whatever. But like if you have a thing, like let's say you like get a thing, you have to sell that thing before it converts to XP. But you'll all notice, I mean, this is like not, and you guys are all old school players, like character classes advance at different rates. Rogues go up a lot faster, but they're relatively less powerful compared to like a wizard of the same level, like a 9th level wizard and 9th level rogue. The 9th level wizard is going to kick that rogue's ass most likely. But probably if at the same XP level, that rogue will be like more like 13th level compared to that 9th level wizard. So keep that in mind. Like don't feel bad if like Pete's gonna go leveling up before everybody else. Same
and dagger.
And regarding leveling, let's just say leveling can't happen until you can rest. So like when you're in a safe place where you can rest, then you can level. But I'm not gonna make you train, do any of that. So that's pretty much it. I mean, do you have any questions? Does anybody have any questions about that?
What about non-weapon proficiencies? You give experience points for successfully using those.
You guys want to do that? I kind of feel like we should, right? Maybe
Well,
we should just have like a flat.
As long as it's sensible with it, like don't abuse it. Just like if it makes sense.
If you're just making a fire every night, no. But if you use fire building during a storm, yeah, give them some XP if they make it. But just make.
All right. How about we'll say this? How about we'll say 25 XP for successful use of any non-weapon proficiency. Just keep track of it yourself. I don't even want to worry about it. But when it comes, I think, to the non-weapon proficiencies, I think that is a really good point. Like, because I think there can be, like, for example, you two just did religion on the stone. There was no information to gain. Yeah. So you're not going to get XP, even though you succeeded at it. Like,
that's right.
It has to be of use in some way. So just kind of like keep that in mind. Again, I am not going to micromanage you. I do not want to micromanage your. Like, I want to focus on running the best adventure I can, not on making sure you're doing your characters right.
You have kid. You don't need 5 more.
Oh God, Jesus, right. So I'm just going to trust you. So that's basically it. If you have any questions or you're like confused at all or whatever, or you're just if there's any debate in your mind, does this count or whatever, just ask and I'll be happy to make a judgment call. Are we doing
the 10% bonus for class requisite stat thing?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what that means, you have prime requisites that are based on your character class that you've chosen. And if you meet if you have a 16 or higher in that prime requisite stat, and some have just one stat, some have multiple stats. If you have 16 or higher in all of the stats that are listed as prime requisite stats, then you get an extra 10% bonus to all of the XP that you gain. So, for example, I know, Pete playing a rogue and he has an 18 dexterity. His rogue will qualify for an extra 10% XP for everything he gains. Because he's got his prime requisite is dexterity and he has an 18 dexterity. So, no level limits on races. I think that's stupid and not fun. But if there's anything else, just bring it up. All right, well, let's continue on. So, Do you guys care to do any role playing for the evening, or are you fine with me moving on to the arrival at Hommlet?
I mean, we still got a bunch of stuff here. We pulled off the dead guy.
Yeah, we could do a little bit.
All right, let's do a little bit of role playing then.
Yeah, let's do a little bit.
All right, Jack, I'll take care of Willoughby. And he, in the car, and he starts doing the wagon and getting it all rounded off, and kind of leaves the group of you to yourselves. He sleeps in the wagon.
So who is
Like
the
you did.
good cook? Anyone have any cooking abilities? Or has it just been hardtack and dry rations this whole time?
I can hold meat over a fire.
That works.
And got survival. I don't know if that actually covers cooking.
Yeah.
Survival allows you to get enough food for one person. You'll never die, essentially, and as long as you're in an environment that's relatively hospitable. But it doesn't really provide for others. For others, you need something like hunting. I don't know, Ren. Does Ren have hunting?
Yeah.
That would be a good use of proficiency, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll throw that out there.
So we haven't got your name yet. You with the ashen skin.
Mm.
do you need a salve? I could whip up a salve. It looks very uncomfortable.
It is a feature of my kin. My
I
name is
apologize.
Ash.
I thought
My
it
name
was
is Ash.
perhaps a disease. I am
Well,
Brother Rygar Shea, Lightbringer of Nola. May the light shine upon you in your darkest days.
it often does. Thank you.
Who are your people? I've never seen one. I've never
From
seen one
the-
look like you.
From the deserts, deep in the deserts, I could not. Words. What's the word for like getting food for provide? I could not provide to feed more than just myself. I was considered a burden.
Yes, it
Yeah,
sounds like
I-
dwarves.
You have some sort of disability?
I am blessed and cursed by magics. Not very good at fighting or hunting, or I can just about eke out a living from.
I can remove curses. You want me to give it a shot?
You can try, but I don't think it would. But I can start a fire, or
Well, that would be
at
useful.
least. Yeah.
Is Gray Ash wearing any visible, like holy symbols, tattoos, anything like that?
I have like a belt with like 6 pouches just like around it, just like
Okay.
one of them is just clearly just full of sling bullets. The other one's got like a couple more sling bullets. And the other one's just got like it's just like bits and pieces. Like I pull when you see the pull out the fire, like pull out one, it's got like flint and steel that's in there wrapped in like a cloth to keep it dry. I got a backpack which is like a little small, like a tent for one person tent in it. Just the usual, like nothing religious or
Okay. Little utility belt, Batman style.
Yeah. Got like a dagger and a sling. No other weapons.
So, Tuctrin, are you a follower of Clangeddon?
I am.
Yeah.
I am,
I was
very-
familiar with that symbol.
As all people should be.
Does he bless you with spells?
He does. He does indeed. He is he's most generous to those of us who carry his silver axes forward against the evils of the land.
Are you a crafter?
I
Or
am.
more of a crafter than a warrior, I would say, or
I wouldn't
Equal?
say that. When a follower of Clan Galen decides to raise his axes, there's really only one outcome.
yes.
I rolled a natural 20 on my fire building check. I cannot start it.
The great forest fire of the gnarly wood.
We turn from talking about Clan Galen to see him, and he's got like
He's like,
two
fuck,
two
God
he's got like two
fucking
wet
damn
sticks.
it,
He's slapping them
start
together.
the fire!
It's like the wood's clearly like the wood's still wet.
Is
The
that
Believe that-
timber's like fucked.
I actually believe that with fire building, you don't need to roll to build a fire under ordinary circumstances.
Oh, okay.
Fire building is one of those where you just roll it like when it is rainy or you're like in the middle
Ah,
of
so
the
wet
snow
woods,
or-
high winds. Yeah, okay. I just
So
skipped to the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you figure right now we have nothing but time to build a fire and get it lit.
Well, apparently that's what you need.
Well, we're breaking camp. You gotta get a fire rolling. Boy, they know where we are. They just attacked us. Yeah.
I do have a musical instrument. I take out a little flute from the sleeve of my coat. I said, would anyone care for some music?
I would love some music.
Do I need to roll that?
I mean, do you want to be like, are you trying to impress them? Or
Not
are
really.
you just
Not really.
I mean, you could just play like normal tunes. I think you don't have to roll.
I'll play just a simple little flute tune
Mhm.
to lighten the mood a little bit.
Jack like pulls out his pipe and kind of sits there around the fire, just enjoying the music.
I'll get a little foot stomping going to this. Yeah, Tuck's gonna foot stomp and then try to keep pace with him. I have
There you
no
go.
musical talent at all, but he's gonna
There you
he's gonna
go.
rock
There's some
out. He's gonna rock out exactly.
Do we have enough? Do we have food, or do we need to forage?
Well, I'm assuming I did go hunting.
Hmm?
How many rabbits did I bring back?
You make it, or
Question?
Yeah, go ahead and make a hunting check.
Okay, school me. What's that?
E20.
Yep, D20, and I think hunting is a wisdom-based skill. Actually, I might be mistaken about that, but that sounds about
I think
right.
you're right. I feel like I
think
read
you're
that.
right.
All right, I got a
have a solid-
12, and my wisdom's 14.
Yep. Okay. Let's actually just take a quick glance at the hunting proficiency here. I'm a little curious as to what it says in terms of that.
Wisdom -1.
Perfect. Hunting, stock and bring down game.
Says if the roll is successful, the hunter have come within 101 to 200 yards of an animal. But then a proficiency check must be made for each 20 yards closed in on an animal. That's kind of crazy.
Oh God, no, we're not doing that. We're
Yeah,
gonna
that's
house
weird.
rule that one. We're
Yeah.
gonna house rule that one.
It's like basically stalking an animal as checks.
Maybe
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that would be tracking, but okay.
Maybe if we were simply starving to death, you'd make him do that type of rolls.
Yeah, maybe if it was really like you were hunting out a beast,
Yeah.
then I
Yeah.
would say, something like that. Like you're looking for the great white stag or something.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Mhm.
But for normal hunting, I'll just say it's a standard proficiency check. Yeah. So I mean, you find a number of wild rabbits, certainly a healthy and welcomed meal for your companions. And I'll say you kind of like walk back into the camp as Brother Rygar is like playing music and Tuckdrin is stomping his feet, and there's kind of a celebratory atmosphere as you.
How far away are we from where we were attacked?
How far away were you?
I don't know.
Did
Did
you
you
guys
just like
Just off
go
the
right
road,
off
I
the
imagine.
road from where we were attacked? And you guys are playing music. I'm just kind of stunned, probably standing there with my rabbits. I'm like, I can hear you miles away.
I can.
Mm.
I can.
Yeah,
Roll an I can roll an herbalism. See if we can spice up that rabbit. I rolled a 17. I didn't. No. No herbs to be found. We got to eat it just plain.
Not even hot sauce.
No.
Conjure hot sauce.
Unless you brought it with you, it's conjure.
I am not much of a woodland creature, so I've got my hardtack and my granola.
I will definitely take a rabbit.
I'll take some of the rabbits. Since they offered.
Ren, very good work. Thank you for your efforts in the hunt. The rabbits here are much smaller than the ones we see in the mountains, but I'm sure they'll be tasty.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
think
it's
about the
still
large
good.
rabbits and just nods at them.
Let me see here. I'm tempted to.
They got to roll for the weight of the rabbit.
No. I'm tempted to see. I kind of want to just. You know what? Let me leave it up to fate here. How shall I? Okay. Miraculously, the noise of your music and your jovial natures has not impacted, has not drawn anything to you over the evening.
Before the sun goes down, I will say a prayer to Nola. I will ask if anyone wishes to join. Nope. Oh well.
I'd be very interested in hearing your prayer, although I will not partake in it.
As the sun goes down and we are relieved of your beauty, I hope to wake up with the morning rays upon my face and my companions, that it will shine upon them and bless them.
Oh, that was beautiful. Beautiful, Brother Riger. I'm sure that your God appreciates those words. Allow me to share with you the prayer to Clangeddon.
I'm rolling my eyes now.
I reach into my bag and I pull out a whetstone and I sharpen my axe just slowly where it goes shing. And I just do that a couple times. Clangeddon is happy.
All the things that have happened on this trip, that was certainly one of them.
Now, we've been traveling together for a while. Have I heard the same thing every night?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you have.
So I will refer you to the map on Roll20 here.
Oh no.
And you'll note you can see Verbabank and you can see Hommlet, and each one of the hexes is 10 leagues, and a league is essentially 3 miles. So yeah, that's not going to work.
You could put those as what you want.
I know, but I don't care to make the game that detailed in that way, you know. I actually did do that with the dungeon maps and stuff, though. I did do it correctly. So it's basically from Verbabank to Hommlet. It's about 30 leagues, I'd say. So 90 miles. I don't know what the normal travel per day is, but maybe like what with a wagon and a horse, 15 miles a day. Sound right? 15 along a rutted road.
Sure. I have no idea.
Sounds
Sounds
right,
reasonable.
Right. I mean, so like that would be a 6-day journey from Burbank to Hommlet, and you're going to make it there the next day. So you've been together for like 5 days, we'll say.
Hmm.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Anything else that you want to do, or just pass the evening along in companionship?
Gonna drink some ale and finish listening to the music. I've already done my prayer, so after that, at some point, gonna batten down the hatches.
Would like to do an astrology check for what the stars say about this group of companions, or like whatever the stars say.
Okay.
I think it's vague. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
You got like tarot cards or some.
It's
Bones
just it's just the stars.
Oh, you're doing
I
the
just-
star. Okay. You're reading stars.
Hmm.
So, Greyash, you don't particularly worship a specific god,
No.
and Ren, same thing with you, right? You say you worship like nature to a certain extent, but not heavily. Ilana, okay. Put that down here.
I'm just not verbal about it as much as some.
Okay.
Brother.
That's great. Yeah. And that's like the druidic and ranger faith, essentially, right? I mean,
Correct.
so in terms of this game, and then just so like it's clear in terms of the lore of Greyhawk, Alana and that faith in particular, it's often referred to by common people as the old faith. Many don't even like call it Alana, but it's like the old ways, you know, nature and like Mother Earth and all of that stuff. So you'll probably, and I'm just telling you, you're going to hear that a lot in this in this game, because it's actually amongst like rural people, it's probably the most widely practiced religion, the old faith, just like the nature and stuff like that.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right, so go ahead and do your astrology. Describe it to me. What does that look like exactly?
I think I find like a clear patch of ground, lie on my back, looking up at the stars, and just like unfocus and sort of let everything like blur together into some sort of mess that somehow I derive meaning from.
Are you full elf or half elf?
Half elf.
Half elf, okay.
I did roll a 4 with the int, so it's fine.
Wow. Well, you're certain when thinking about this group there and reading the stars, confusion and uncertainty presents itself strongly to you. What will they be? Who are they? I might say that you have feelings of like the potential for strong bonds, but then also great betrayal.
It doesn't concern me. Like, to be uncertain is to live, so I accept this.
All right. Anything else that anybody wants to do before?
Let's set a watch, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
I already
I'm
rolled
for that.
Yeah, I rolled the
Oh,
random
okay.
encounter, so I'll just kind of gloss over that you do set a watch, but nothing
Yeah.
nothing happens overnight. So you wake up the next morning and you kind of pack everything up to make the final leg to Hommlet. And you get some more box text from the module now. By the way, I have an original copy, but I had to get a print-on-demand copy because I was like, I need to write in my modules and like make marks and like I need it. So I couldn't bring myself
You
to.
have to buy two.
I couldn't bring myself to write in like
Yeah.
my original version. I was like, oh, it's got the little map book and everything. So,
That's the workbook, and you've got the one encased in plastic that you can look at.
right, exactly. Hold on 1 second here. I've had a bit of a cold, so my throat's a little bit.
I print out a PDF most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to do it too. I might have to do that if we get to the Spider Queen adventure, because that I have that one, but I don't think they even have it on print on demand anymore because it's like it was a bit controversial. All right, so your party is now approaching the village of Hommlet, having ridden down from Verbabunk. You are poorly mounted, actually not mounted at all, badly equipped, and have no large sums of cash. In fact, all you have is what you wear and what you ride, which is nothing, plus the few coins that are hidden in purses and pockets. What you do possess in quantity, though, is daring and desire to become wealthy and famous. Thus, your group comes to Hommlet to learn. Is this indeed a place for adventurers to seek their fortunes? You all hope, of course, to gain riches and make names for yourselves. The outcome of this is uncertain, but your skill and daring, along with a good measure of luck, will be the main ingredients of what follows, be it for weal or woe. The small community at the crossroads is a completely unknown quantity. What is there? Who will be encountered? Where should you go? These are your first explorations and encounters, so chance may dictate as much as intelligence. Will outsiders be shunned? Are the reports true? Is the whole community engaged in evil practices? Are the folk here bumpkins, easily duped? Does a curse lay upon those who dare to venture into the lands which were once the temples? All of these questions will soon be answered. The dusty, rutted road is lined with closely grown hedges of brambles and shrubs. Here and there it cuts through a copse or crosses of rivulets. To either hand, forest and meadow have given way to field and orchard. A small herd of kine graze nearby, and a distant hill is dotted with the wan stone chimneys with thin plumes of blue smoke rising from them. A road angles west into the hill country, and to either side of the road ahead are barns and buildings. Hommlet at last. The adventure begins. ... All right, so let me go ahead.
Does that mean I'd lose my 37 gold I had left over from initial start?
No.
Okay.
No. That would be silly. Okay, so. Okay. Allow me to introduce you to. Oh, why is this these? Second here. Ugh, Lord Almighty. Sorry, guys. I'm refamiliarizing myself with. Can you guys see the map?
It's black.
It is void.
Okay.
Is it set to like darkness or something? It's like fog of war.
Yeah. All right, so you're coming from the north. The top left corner of the map will be now revealed, but you can kind of see stuff. Actually, here, let me get another map here for myself. I got the map separate. All right, so you're coming from the north, and you're following the road into the town, and you're sort of coming down a hill into the town. You know what? Fuck this. I'm just gonna reveal all this. I don't think this is important. God damn it! I cannot. I swear, your images, your boxes with your names on it for your characters
Are huge.
are completely covering the map. I don't even know how to get rid of that.
Go to the gear,
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in the gear.
and then it should be icon sizes. I'm not a GM on it, so I can't remember.
Go to audio and I think it's audio and video video display. Click on the video display, and then it should say names or players, videos, and avatar size. Change it to name only.
Yep, everybody has to do it.
Hold on. Oh, okay, hold on.
Oh, I did.
There
Nice.
we go. Oh,
Perfect.
Awesome, isn't it?
sweet baby G. I knew that existed, but
They kind of hide it. It's funny.
I know. That's
They changed it. They changed the whole makeup of that. I hate it.
all right. I'm just gonna reveal this whole map. Okay.
Where am I looking to do this?
You don't have to do anything.
Okay.
I got it all set up.
Well,
Okay.
I think he still has to set up your own icons.
Oh,
Or
you
player.
have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Go-
Yeah,
yeah.
or to show everybody else's.
Okay, but you can still see the map now. So I'll kind of describe this. So you're coming from the north, and you're like up on a sort of on a hill, so kind of like you're going sort of down into the town, and I'll kind of give you a description of like what you see. First of all, the building nearest to you is actually a temple of some sort. You see it rising in front of you. It's definitely a newer building of newer stone. And let's see here. Actually, maybe I can give you a little bit of a description here.
This building here.
Yeah, I can ping it right there.
Okay.
This is pissing me off here. There's no numbers on the freaking map, so I'm like, they're numbered, but there's no numbers on the map. All right, bear with me here for a second here. Okay, so you can see like basically right when you're first entering in is a newly built building. Definitely within maybe the last year or two, you can sort of tell. It is those with religion automatically know that it's devoted to Saint Cuthbert. The symbols and signs and design of the building is obvious to you. Just from he's a very well represented deity in the Flanaess, and you kind of see this stuff everywhere. But it's like there's a sort of a main entrance area into a large sort of circular chamber you can see, and then there's like adjacent sort of rear rooms. But again, it's a newer building. It's obviously built by local stone, and it stands sort of as a gleaming beacon on the hill here in comparison to everything else. And it is sort of up at the high point of the town in a lot of ways. Beyond that, the road descends into the town, and the river kind of cuts through the center of town, and then there's this large grouping of buildings, and that's kind of the town center area. In fact, it's like about midday here at this point as you're arriving in the town, and you can see a lot of activity is happening there right now. People kind of coming and going. There's a lot of shops. You can hear, even like the distant sound of things happening, like, banging on anvils and the moving of carts and the sounds of like, cows and chickens like being sold and things like that are happening. And that's kind of like the whole center area of town. In the far distance, like kind of the opposite end of town from where you're entering, you can also see that there is a large tower, large wooden tower that rises kind of the tallest building within the within Hommlet. And I'll kind of ping it here. You can sort of see it here. There's a large wooden tower in essentially what is the southwest corner of the town, and there is a ton. You can see from your high vantage point as you're entering the villages that there is a ton of activity around there, because the entire area seems to be being worked on right now. Like you can tell that they're laying out new walls, new construction. There's like piles of stone. There's lots of laborers like digging in the dirt. All kinds of stuff like scaffolding is being built, and it's kind of all around that tower area. For the most part, though, the town looks like it's pretty well integrated with nature. I would say in general, like, that the trees and the homes seem to work well together, with the exception probably of the Temple of St. Cuthbert and then this new construction that's happening. Lots of farms and things like that. But fairly welcoming, you would say, just like in its feel. It's a relatively idyllic looking setting, and thus far, nobody seems to be accosting you as you move into town. What would you care to do? You're kind of at the edge of town now, and you can see the temple and everything else within.
Would I know if that temple has shrines to other gods?
That's a good question. But you know if that... Most of the time, well, how much have you traveled? How much would you say your characters travel around?
This is my first trip.
You know what? Make a religion check then.
Okay. I got it.
All right, so you know that most like smaller villages and stuff are very singularly oriented in terms of their religion. So usually there's like one or at most maybe two. Usually, for the most part, many of these places just worship are followers of the old faith, and they're just gonna be like kind of following. There might be like a village druid or a village like wise person that is kind of their religious leader. And then if there is a worship of any particular god, it's going to be like probably one, and a lot of times it comes from like, there's some like local great hero or something did something, and they kind of like build a temple around that person who was like a worshiper of somebody. So it's unlikely. But St. Cuthbert is a good guy, is a good god. So you're not like misaligned there.
I won't worry about any ties. I'll just keep going with the group.
So what was the name of our contact?
Burn?
Burn.
Burn?
Burne.
Okay. So I definitely spelled that wrong.
Okay, go ahead and make a I'll let you do a local history roll here, actually, on that one.
Okay. I rolled a 13, and let me see if that is enough. Ooh, dwarven history. Actually, yes, I made it.
All right, so you've heard of Burn, actually. Burn and Rufus, this kind of like human adventuring pair. I think they're humans. Shit, guess I should make sure. The pictures look human. They're like kind of known as being they're getting themselves in all kinds of business. You know what I mean? Like they're getting involved in all kinds of different things that maybe they should or shouldn't be. The dwarves kind of tend to stick to themselves, and like these guys are just like sort of known adventurers, you might say.
Understood. So, where would we find these Mr. Byrne?
Did he give us directions to his?
Yeah, are we still following Jack or what?
Yes.
Well,
yeah,
Jack is just the driver. He says, I don't know where he might be. Perhaps enter into the town and we can find out. Ask around.
Good plan. Perhaps we could.
Says, I know I could go for
tavern.
wetting my throat with a ale at the inn after a long journey.
So you do speak Dwarven.
I'm just gonna be
Sounds
keeping
good.
an eye out for that symbol, if it's like if it's anything like it in the town, basically. The eye with the tear. As we travel.
Okay, now that's a good question.
Oh no. What have we done?
You've done nothing wrong. Nothing yet.
What's the sound yet?
What's the name and lineage of every person in this town? Go.
Make a perception check.
Yeah. 6 I rolled. The 12.
So you made it by
Yeah, 6. Made it by 6.
by 6. Pete, can you still not see the map?
Still can't see the map.
Go to your gear up to the top right. On your toolbar to the top right. And then-
Is it because something is in the way of the map, or is it because you can't see the map at all?
Can't see the map at all. I don't have a
Oh.
gear in the top right. I got view.
Click on there should be a toolbar set on the left side of the screen, including maybe like an arrow. Do you see that? On the left side of Roll20?
Over on Roll20.
How about a plus and a minus sign on the right side of your Roll20? Plus and a minus. Because what I have a feeling is probably happening is that it's on your screen, but it's off of the screen. Like you need to scroll or slide down to it. Because that's one problem with Roll20 is you can slide the map off of your screen and you won't even know it. That's
I
what,
don't even see
yes.
this
There we
name.
go. Okay. I didn't even have this darn thing open.
There we go.
Oh, you didn't launch it. That's
I
probably
did not
what.
launch it.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, there's a bunch of crap in the way. Hold on. There we go.
All right, so Grash, you're the group of you are sort of heading into town, and you're seeing like sort of farmers, and there's a herdsman directly across from the church. There's like a herdsman, and there's like a large kind of herd that's like grazing there. Gives you a bit of a skeptical look, you might say. But you continue on, and the road sort of turns off to the right before continuing on straight, and you're sort of moving towards the center of town. And as you're approaching a ford across the river, because it doesn't have a bridge, there is a large set. There's a set of these two buildings to your left. Well, first of all, to your right, there's one of the few stone buildings, and you can see that the sign has 3 yellow balls, clearly the money changer, and there's a guard in chainmail standing at the door, and he's got a sword and he's got a light crossbow cradled in his arms, and there are a couple of like basically guard dogs there that he's got like on a chain next to him, and he gives you kind of like a glare basically as you're walking by. But on the other side are these two wooden buildings, and you can see like outside the door that's closest to the building that's closest to the road, there's a shield and a lantern that are suspended from chains, and the shield is painted and has a sword and cheese painted onto the shield, and it's like clearly the local trading post. But you can see on the lantern, like kind of scrawled, like if somebody were to take a nail and scrape through the paint, you see that symbol.
Oh.
And you just barely noticed because I was giving you a -4 penalty. So it's like you're like kind of looking and then almost do a double take, like, oh, like you see it hanging from the lantern.
Which one was the hunter? Is it JB? Like
Ren is the hunter.
Ren.
I'm a city boy.
I can't even see them on, because it's got like a scroll bar. I look to Ren because I know they like probably have the highest perception if they like do that sort of thing. I'd be like, Ren, you see that the symbol? Recognize it? I like like try to indicate its location on the lantern from wherever we are.
All right, yeah, I eyeball the lantern to see if I'm sure it's.
Yeah, once he points it out, like you see it.
Just nod to him. Kind of. I don't know. What activity did you say we've seen at that building? Just anything, or people going in and out?
It looks like it's a trading post.
So, but is it a lot of activity? Mild, I'm just kind of looking at the characters coming in and out. Does it just look like town folk or adventurers or what? Or mix?
It's probably a mix. I mean, I would describe it as busy as you would expect a trading post to be in a town of this size. So it's not like it's, shuttered, and it's not like it's especially busy. People are coming in and out, like you see a man like walk out with a length of rope slung over his shoulder. He kind of gives you a nod as he, just a head nod as he moves past you and
there's no one there with like a bandage around the lump on the back of their head. That'd be funny.
Not that you see.
Just kind of whisper over to him. We'll have to come back and look at this a little closer.
Yes.
The guy that nodded to us, can I stop him?
Yeah, he stops.
Excuse me, fine sir. Would you happen to know a fellow by the name of Byrne?
He says, everyone here knows his most worshipful mage of Hommlet.
Ah, a title. Where can we find him at?
He says, Why, in the grandest of all buildings, of course. And he points down, and he points like, he does a big like kind of over the top,
Sarcastic?
yeah. And you see him like wave his arm to the tower that's in the distance. He says, "Can you see that his lordship builds himself a castle, that he might deign to look upon us commoners from when it is finished?" He spits.
Wow.
Dial it back, Smithers. Dial it back.
Hmm.
Shall we go there first? Get rid of this job so we can drink and have something to eat.
I'm down for that.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's make our way towards that tower.
What about you, Ren and Grey Ash? You're kind of having a dialogue here about this thing.
I don't think
And you
it's
haven't
the time
informed
right
the rest,
now.
so they're just kind of...
It's like I think we should like move on from here, but like when we're out of earshot of the guy, bring up to the rest of the party is like the trading post appears to be, if not ran by, but maybe working with the people that attacked you earlier. They have the same symbol carved in the lantern.
Some sort of guild symbol, maybe?
Possibility.
I'm not too familiar with the underbelly of towns and cities. I don't know how these guilds work.
Perhaps there is a local historian.
I'm not sure if we want
whatever-
to bring that up just yet.
No, but it would be nice to know what is the human equivalent of a clan chief
Yeah.
or
We
sage.
could ask our benefactor, perhaps.
Perhaps.
Okay, so you continue on into town. Are you trying to find yourself the tavern, or are you going to straight to burn?
Straight to burn.
Straight to burn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get paid.
I love whoever is like moving their little ninja character. That's got to be you. Who is that?
That's me.
Oh my god, that's awesome. Yeah, so you move through the center of town, and of course, you don't spend a lot of time, kind of interacting with what what you're seeing, but the tailor and a weaver and the village hall blacksmith. You see the Inn of the Welcome Wench, which has a painting of a busty woman serving up a couple of foaming mugs of ale, which certainly sets your mouth to watering, but you put that aside for the moment in order to gain the funds necessary to and that's this I'll ping it. That's this large building here, the Welcome Wench.
I say too loudly as we go by and we see the winch with the ale, "I shall return."
Nice. But like I said, blacksmith, leather worker, there is a carpenter, wheel and wainwright, and then eventually this is the stonemason right here, the building that's right across from the tower. And this might make a good spot for us to I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of a description here, and then we might finish off here, because I think this could be a fun little moment. So you actually, the fucking map says Wizard Tower on it. I didn't even realize that. Oh, these
I
have
put
little.
it there.
Oh, you put that there. I was like,
I'm
okay.
cutting it in as we go.
Oh, that's great. That's perfect. Awesome. Yeah, that's great. So you head on over to that area, and gosh, man. You see the Wizard's Tower. across from the stonemasons. And like I said, there's a lot of activity over in this area. But I'll give you a description here. It says the structure is some 55 feet tall. A smaller tower rising inside of the greater at about 35 feet above the ground. Its entrance is accessible only by going up a curving flight of stone stairs, which terminate in a landing about 10 feet above the ground. The outer door of the tower lowers to form a bridge to the stone landing. There are numbers of arrow slits around the tower, and it has a splay around the base to about 6 feet in height. The lower and upper battlements are matriculated, and the merlons being pierced for archery as well. 2 men-at-arms watch from its roof. However, in the area beyond, everybody make a perception check.
20. Let's go.
Did you really roll a nat 20?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, bro.
18.
I rolled an
This is
18.
the high die. If I need a different one to roll low.
Yeah, I rolled an 18. I don't see.
I got a 19.
Oh my God,
This is
you
the
guys.
5e dice. What
Yeah,
are we doing?
Sunrise.
I got a 19 too. I'm just looking at a butterfly.
Are
going
you
down.
serious? Is this like all 19s and 18s and 20s?
Yeah, it looks that way.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, you don't see it then.
I was distracted.
That is so fucking funny.
The giant
What about
eye
the driver?
carved on the
Did they
side
see
of the
it?
tower.
That's a good question, actually. That would actually make some sense. I'll let him roll. Okay. Hey. He says, Elf, Greyash. Isn't that the man that you hit with your sling? And you see, like amongst the laborers, they're like people working like in that area. Like there's a guy with like a bandage on his head.
Oh my God.
And like there's some people kind of like in that area, and like there's a lot of people working, but like once you kind of see him, like he and like there's a couple other guys that are like there, wouldn't exactly describe them as working. Like they have like shovels or like picks or whatever, but they're just like on the job site. You know,
on the castle construction up here, or like?
Yeah, they're in the castle construction area. So like they're a bit of a
dilly-dallying.
But yeah. But you notice that there's a guy and he's got this bandage. He's got like a bandage on the back of his head, and like you once you get a sense of who he is, like you wouldn't forget that face. And I think that's that's a perfect place for us to end right there. It's just about 10 o'clock, and so it leaves us on a nice little cliffhanger here. You got something to do right to start the next session. So as I mentioned, 75 XP total. That's 15 XP each for combat. I'm just going to give everybody 100 XP each for role playing for this time. And so I also like to do something here, and as a little bonus to one player each session, I like to let everybody decide who you think this week's sort of role playing star for the session was. Who was the role playing or the star of the session? Who do you think kind of stood out in terms of either playing their character or useful ideas or whatever? And I'm going to award them an additional bonus of XP. So who do we want to? You can't nominate yourself, but throw out some names. Who do you think might be deserving?
I would throw out Nick.
I would throw out Dominic.
I'll go with Nick.
I'm going with Gray.
Oh, no.
I was feeling great too, so I'm going to split it between Nick and David, Greyash, and Brother Ryger. 50 XP bonus each, role playing XP for the session. So,
thank you.
So it's a fun start, and again, I'm running this straight from the module. Like directly. We're doing it exactly as it's written. So we'll see what happens. But good stuff, guys. There was I'm going to throw out some, as I mentioned, in between. I'll put out kind of the instructions on Roses and Thorns and Stars and Wishes, so we can kind of discuss things that we liked about the beginning and things about that maybe we think could be improved upon, or things that we weren't really too keen on, and I can make some adjustments in terms of my DMing in that regard, and I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, I'll say this too. A lot of you guys haven't played in a long time. If for these first few sessions, if you kind of are like, man, this is a stupid proficiency I took, or like, this doesn't make any sense for me, I'm not going to nitpick on that. You know what I mean? If you want to switch something up because you just feel like it would be more useful or more interesting for your character, because a character isn't played on the character sheet, it's played in the sessions. And you never really know what it's going to look like until you actually start playing the game. So I'll say, let's say the first 3 sessions, if you want to move anything around proficiency wise, stuff like that, I'm totally fine with that. You don't even need to talk to me about it, just do it. But if you've used the proficiency and you've taken XP from it, you got to keep it. All right. All right, guys. Well, thanks for playing. I hope everybody had fun. I did. So
Thanks for running it.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. So every other Thursday, and we should be good to go for a bit of time. So
nice meeting everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great to see all of
Good
you.
night, everyone.